Welcome to Natural Born Talents. In today's video, I'm going to try to accurately describe how ego works within the matrix, what ego is, its purpose, and how to struggle against it. Every human being on this planet is born with a purpose, and that purpose is reflected in their aura. The aura gives hints on what an individual's purpose in life, what their mission in life, big or small, is when they come into this world. The other part of humanity, the challenge, is the ego. Now, when you're born and you're young or in a difficult environment, most people will rely on ego to get them through the early stages of their struggle. However, if you become reliant or dependent on ego, it begins to reverse and corrupt you. The aura and your mission no longer have meaning, or the mission is distorted to serve a selfish need. So let's take a look at the three forces in this world that influence humanity. The first force is your source, the origin. This includes Christ, the Buddhist, your ancestors, all the people who have mastered the matrix and remain loving beings. They often give information to the people on this planet on how to struggle in order to not corrupt themselves, to return to the source, regardless of what religion, origin, or race you come from. Outside of the matrix, all of these different beings from various cultures and history all get along because they have cleared the matrix. There's no arguing, there's no fighting. It's just different techniques that they teach each other from their cultures, from their origins, further strengthening and deepening the soul of the individual. However, on the matrix, there are two negative forces that challenge that. They are the opposite of what's on the other side. They are constantly in conflict. They're constantly dividing race, culture, religion, and so on. And the two forces I will describe as follows. The first one is an obvious one. It's one that we see all the time, daily in the news. It's the demonic or satanic or devil or evil side of the matrix. And this is reflected by people who are violent, aggressive, hostile, perverted, tend to wear fashion that reflects these corrupt notions, so they're kind of easy to spot. The other side that plays off of this is the moralists. The moralists are the ones that use religion, use culture, and use the satanic side of humanity in order to push their agenda. They often use quotes from Christ, the Bible, the Buddhists, or anything else in history to manipulate, to control, to enslave, or to use humanity. While Satan gets all of the credit for all the evil in the world, it's really the moralists who play off of Satan that are more destructive to the human psyche. Because Satan is obvious, the moralists are less so, and they are not run by Satan, though they do work with him at times. They are run by the moralistic angels. I can get into detail on that, on which angels play this, but that would take too much time in this video. If you're interested, I'll make another video specifically on the angels that do work on the moralistic side. Now, there are angels who work for Christ as well, the side of good. And this is where it gets kind of tricky to see at times for many people. And of course, there are angels in other religions as well that work generally for the side of humanity. The moralists tend to wear suits or religious attire. They tend to preach. They tend to be aloof. They tend to run the cults of society, which at times includes big businesses. The moralists tend to be the main force behind various political factions, fascism, communism, socialism, and so on. They're all the same. These are all parasitic needs to enslave humanity. Once you become awake to ego, these people are not hard to spot. They tend to look cool and smooth on the surface, saying things without sweating or looking nervous, but underneath they are very nervous and very much in fear. They are aloof or easily agitated when confronted with the truth. They often calmly say, "Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory," or something like that. Anytime you hear these people, you know who they're working for. Now, recently, the good versus evil game got nasty. And the reason for this is because the satanic side of evil and the moralistic side of evil teamed up to make life miserable for everyone but themselves. And this, again, in the future will collapse and they will be destroyed. But until that time, humanity is going through probably one of the roughest struggles since the last collapse thousands of years ago. So the weapons of these peoples usually tends to be emotions, manipulation of money, violence, or any other kind of destructive behavior. The Satanists are the ones that carry out the orders, but it's the moralists that are giving the orders. Now again, if you don't believe in Satan or angels or any of these other things, we could look at ego in another way as a morphogenetic field. To me, it's not. Ego are angels, are the devil. These beings really are arrogant, aloof, holier than thou. They see humanity as little ants that they can manipulate. They're very disgusting beings, frankly. Your ancestors, God, if you like, and all the other loving beings in the universe are quite amazing, beautiful beings in comparison. Angels shine, but you remember, everything that shines is not gold. So getting back to ego. Ego is actually a morphogenetic field, energy, that is manipulated by these beings. Now, these beings are ego themselves as well. But they manipulate emotions. They try to trick you through lies in your consciousness or brainwashing, if you like, in order to take actions that will eventually lead to corrupting yourself. They try to lead you down the path to the inferno. And if you take one side or the other for too long, you will destroy yourself. Now, the Matrix is a rough place. So like I said in the beginning, everyone in this planet at this time has some sort of ego. If they didn't, they'd be immediately destroyed. But as you get strong enough and your soul doesn't need ego anymore, it's time to move on. It's those who don't move on and rely on ego way into their middle age life crisis is where the problem begins. This means they're on their way out. Now, of course, there are some children who are born corrupt and evil, and there are many who are not, and there's all the other souls in between. You have the very loving souls at the top and the very baby tiny souls at the bottom, as I've mentioned in other videos. Angels give these souls, which have been regurgitated through the inferno many times over through the endless pain of karma, waiting for them to grow up to the next game. But many don't ever do. They stay corrupt. And this is where the transition comes in. Eventually, the transition will bring in the higher beings. The angels will take their weak souls back to the inferno and shut it off forever. Many souls along the way will be permanently destroyed. And if you don't know what that means, just take a look at a mentally impaired individual who has absolutely no control over their thoughts or actions. They are so broken that they barely can live without an enormous amount of support in this world. That's a broken soul. That's what happens to many of the egotists who do not heed the warnings. In order to show how it all works, the ego and the auras within the matrix, I'm going to give a sample family in the next video so you can see where you are within this game. The family is a real family that I worked with, but of course I'm going to change the names and much of the details in order to preserve their privacy. After that, I'm going to start publishing the comic books that I've been working on that show how people made it out of the matrix, how they grew past ego, how they grew past the selfishness of this world and wanted to move on to something higher. More on that in the next video. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching.